Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first item tonight is a public hearing, extreme terror haunts on site plan -83. Jack, are you going to address that?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Board. First thing I have is a site plan approval request for Extreme Terror Haunts, SP 83, to be located at 1029 Armory Road. I'd like to ask that part of the public hearing record be the municipal code by reference, my planning and zoning report, and the public hearing notices. On February 26, 2014, a request was filed for a site plan approval for a proposed seasonal haunted house to be located at 1029 Armory Road. Property is Zone C3, Highway Commercial. Per Appendix A, 3 commercial use. A, entertainment event major. 1 indoor entertainment facility is a permitted use within the C3 zoning district. Motion for approval passed 9-0 with 1 absent at the April 3rd, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, with the condition that the concerns of the fire department are addressed.
Any questions for Jack? Thank you, Jack. Anybody from the audience would like to address that issue? If so, please come forward and do so at this time. Not hearing from anyone, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And at this time, I will open the Warrenton Board of Aldermen for, what did we have here, April 15, 2014. I'm going to ask Alderman Flake to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would stand and face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is approval of minutes, open and executive session minutes from April 1, 2014.
Motion for approval of the executive session open meetings from April 1st, 2014.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Kessley, to approve the open and executive session minutes from April 1, 2014. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Regular board meeting minutes from April 1, 2014.
Make a motion that we approve the regular board meeting minutes from April 1st, 2014.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Flake, to approve the regular board meeting minutes from April 1, 2014. Any corrections or changes? Roll call, please.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. At this time on the agenda, we always give the public an opportunity to come forward and address the board. We ask that you keep your remarks civil and no more than 5 minutes in length. If you would like to address the board, please come forward to the podium, state your name and then nature of your business. No one ever likes to talk to us. We feel lonesome sometimes. Not hearing from the public, then I'll give that same opportunity to the Board of Aldermen. Any comments that you'd like to make, do so at this time. I think we'll start with Alderman.
You want me to do this now or later?
No, hang on to the end of that.
I have nothing for this time.
We're going to start with Alderman Dreyer.
Oh,
I've got nothing.
Nothing? We're going to skip these two, and we're going to go to Alderman Kessley.
Wow, you don't even get a chance to
No, we
talk.
cut them off.
Wow, no, I have nothing to say.
Alderman Ock.
I'll pass.
All right, now Alderman Clark, you can,
You want me to do this?
yeah, you can do that.
Okay, what I have here is the traveling trophy for the chili cook-off that was held last December at the hometown Christmas. It was my team was Mayor Jerry Dyer and Larry Sprick and myself. We are looking for some competition. We were supposed to have some competition from the board, but they decided it was either too cold or it was just too much competition for them.
It was too cold.
Nobody for sure.
We didn't have enough hot air around.
I doubt it.
I walked down that street.
And so that we do have a little winnings that came with this traveling trophy, and I'd like to present that at this time to our chief for the Special Olympics donation to them. To go with his amount. You want to get in this?
No, how about if I just peek in?
It doesn't make a lot of photo.
That's
I was
fine.
planning on photobombing this.
You could photobomb John. It wouldn't be that hard.
You're welcome. At this time, I saved 2 board members who are leaving the board tonight, and so I'm going to give them opportunity to speak to the public and the rest of the board. And I'm going to start off with Alderman Cornell.
I haven't had any comments from, during this section for about the last 4 meetings. I've been kind of saving them up for now, but I'm not a man of few words. I do want to thank the public. That it's been an absolute privilege to serve on this board, and it's humbling to have the public trust. I come from a family of public servants and believe very strongly in public service, and would encourage anybody to do their duty and serve the public, whether it's an elected position such as the Board of Aldermen, serving on one of the many appointed boards, volunteer as a coach, or be a special guest reader at the schools. There are many enjoyable avenues to get involved in this community. I tell everybody that I was born and raised in Warrenton, not as that bestows upon me any particular privilege, but to let them know that I've never had a reason to leave Warrenton. It is a good community to raise our family. As a public, we need to hold our officials accountable, but also be careful not to vilify our public officials and therefore in the future dissuade others from serving in this position. And we as elected officials need to make sure we listen not only to our supporters but also our critics. If we only listen to what we want to hear, we'll never serve the public any better than we do today. Many people who follow board meetings have witnessed some disagreements upon the board. Some of them sometimes a little bit heated. And I would say that is a very healthy circumstance whenever there is disagreement upon the board, that the checks and balances that are necessary are being followed. And finally, I do want the citizens of this city to realize that this city is served by a large staff of very dedicated and very capable employees. That is one of the things when I came on board, I thought that the services were perhaps lacking, and I will tell you, I can be as critical as anybody, and most of the department heads will attest to that, but I will tell you that the employees, rank and file, what they do for the money that we pay, the city gets a true value from the employees of this city. So, again, I appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Cornell. I'm going to turn it over to Alderman Flake, and I want to mention, I always refer to Alderman Flake as a senior member of the board. 18 years of public service, and that's remarkable this day and age, that anybody will even take the time and give their time for 18 years. So, Alderman Flake, I'm ready to listen.
Well, I'd just like to thank all the residents and registered voters in Ward 2 for their support and their cooperation for the past 18 years. I appreciated their support very much. I'd also like to thank everyone in the city organization for their support, cooperation, and friendship through the years. It was greatly appreciated. I just hope that the team effort continues, which will allow the city of Warrenton to prosper and continue to move in a positive direction. The past 18 years has been a learning experience. I had a full head of hair when I first came on board, but you can see what happened. I'm still got 2 years to serve on the building board, so I'll be around for a little while, and I just want to say thank you for all your cooperation and your support.
Thank you, Alderman Flake.
Hey, can I make a comment regarding Alderman
You may.
Flake? I had the privilege of serving with him the first time, and one thing's not true, I don't think you ever had a full head of hair. At least not in my memory. We have to go back to grade school, but I think we need to also recognize that I was visiting with Alderman Flake, and he's only missed one board meeting in 18 years.
Wow.
That's remarkable.
That's remarkable.
That is remarkable.
That was at the visitation for his wife when she passed away, so that's quite a record, I think, that he needs to be recognized for.
Good point. Anybody else? At this time, I'm going to move to certification of the election results. It's my understanding that county clerk has certified the election results, and we need to do so as a board. It looks like in Ward 3, Alderman Dreyer received the most votes at 135. In Alderman 2, Eric Sluther received the most votes at 233. In Ward 1 was a close race. Tony Hawley received the most votes at 154. I was unopposed as the mayor's position and received 695. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to certify the election results.
Motion to certify election results.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Flake to certify the election results. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. At this time, I have a couple plaques I want to present to our two outgoing aldermen, and I would ask that maybe we come down front.
Mayor, before you do that, I'm sorry to interrupt. Will you also make a motion to certify the election results for the bond issue?
I'm
The
sorry,
bond issue.
the bond issue.
Make a motion, we certify the election results for the bond issue.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to certify the results of the bond issue. Roll call on that one.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. See, I didn't scroll down far enough. And that's why we have Councilor Graville here to keep us out of trouble.
Terry told me so.
Okay, I'm going to have you come down, John, and then we'll get Fred. You don't want to do them both, do we? One at a time?
It's up to you.
I have a plaque here that reads, "The City of Warrenton extends sincere appreciation to John Purnell for serving as Alderman Ward 1 from 2012-2014. Your genuine dedication and heartfelt service to the community have truly benefited the residents of our city. Mayor Jerry Dyer, Warrenton Board of Aldermen." Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, John.
Thank you.
Good luck. And now I need a senior member, Fred Flake.
Can we say most senior?
Say what?
Can we say most senior?
Most senior.
That's the highest honor. Most senior.
The City of Warrenton extends sincere appreciation to Fred Flake for serving as Alderman Ward 2 from 1996 to 2014. Your genuine dedication and heartfelt service to the community have truly benefited the residents of our city. Mayor Jerry Dyer and the Warrenton Board of Aldermen. Fred, I'm going to let you turn this like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Good luck.
Thank you.
And at this time, I'm going to ask Melody to swear in Alderman Dreyer and Alderman Holly and Alderman Sluther and myself. I should have stayed down.
Yeah.
Where do you want us?
And in the straight line.
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I possess all the qualifications for the position of mayor and alderman
For the position of mayor,
of the city of Warrenton, as prescribed by law, that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Missouri,
and the state of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws of this state
the provisions of all laws of the state
affecting this city,
affecting this city
and the code of ordinances
and the Board of Ordinances
of the city of Warrenton,
of the city of Warrenton.
and I will faithfully demean myself in office.
And I will faithfully demean myself in office.
Congratulations.
I don't think we agreed to that last year.
I'll move up to
Chris is a
order
board.
sheet.
What are your thoughts? I like that score. He's been on that long.
Melody, do we need to sign these now? Is it,
You can sign them after the meeting and
After the
then pass
meeting.
them down if you'd like.
okay, very good.
Okay, I guess nothing else is going to happen, the newspaper left.
Kids home. I'm gonna take our new people, this one down, reading information, I'm gonna go over it a little bit. One of the things that I told some of the older board members, or that's been on the board, sometimes we complain about which chairs we sit in and how we pick our seats. So beginning next meeting, if any board member wants to rearrange themselves in order, they may do so. Now, you might have trouble, some of them might not want to leave, and I'm not going to force them to leave their seat, but if you do want to reposition yourself on the board, there's no rhyme or reason that you have to set in any particular order, so. At this time, our normal customary thing is the board needs to select a president to fill in for the mayor in the mayor's absence or sickness or whatever. So at this time, I would take applications or appointments to the board president's position.
Make a nomination that John Clark be board chair.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Casserly. Is there any other nominations that anybody wants to make at this time? And we'll close the nominations, and we'll do a roll call vote for Mr. Clark.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Clark, you're going to abstain.
Can I vote?
Yeah.
You can if you want.
I'll abstain.
Alderman Dreyer,
Yes.
Alderman Schluter,
Yes.
Alderman Holly,
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0 with one abstention. The next item on the agenda is the mayor's report to the board. This is one of the nights where I do have quite a bit of things that I do want to share with the public, and especially with the new board members. A few months ago, the governor's office had sent us a request to do a proclamation in support of the new state mental health hospital in Fulton, Missouri. Anybody that's visited that hospital understands the need for it. I don't think anyone criticizes that we don't have a need. The question was, how are we going to pay for it? So anyway, we did send a letter of support to the governor's office, and since then we've received a couple press releases that the legislators have gotten together and figured out a way to finance the thing and support the deal. So the new hospital is going to be built. It's a $211 million venture. It'll create some 2,500 jobs. and it's going to stay in the city of Fulton, Missouri. So I thought that was good news. It was definitely needed, just, how are we going to fund the thing? The other thing I want to report to the board and the new board members, the sidewalk issues. We got 2 sidewalk projects that we're working on. One of them is over on Pinckney Street, where the high school interest starts and goes to Warrior Ridge. We've asked, well, let me back up. We didn't have quite enough money in our budget to do that project. That was a $100,000 project, and we asked the school board or school district if they would be interested in partnering up with us and maybe pick up half of that cost. I've talked to the superintendent on a couple different occasions, and they were going to take that up at a board meeting this past week when they reorganized, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him to see whether they're still interested in partnering up with it, and hopefully that'll come about, and that's something we can get done yet this summer, maybe tackle that project. The other sidewalk issue that we're working on, and I don't want to steal Michelle's thunder, are you going to report on the easements, or?
No, not tonight.
Okay. I might mention the South 47 sidewalk from Warrior Ridge all the way to Dry Fork Crossing. We're trying to procure easements along there to keep the sidewalk off of the Department of Transportation's right-of-way. That's coming along pretty good. Some of the property owners are very willing to cooperate and give us easements. Other ones are saying, what's in it for me? What can I get in return? So we're working with that, and I think that's moving along. That was a grant that we received. I'm not sure who that comes. Safe School?
Safe Routes to School from MoDOT.
Okay, and that was funded at 100%. So we've got all the money to build that sidewalk. We just need to get the easements to do it. And it's a 6-foot wide sidewalk. The farther we can keep it away from 47, the better off we are. Keep the kids away from traffic is the best we can. Anyway, I just want to report both of those projects we're working on them. Haven't forgotten them. The other thing, let's see, I might have more handouts for you. And I usually don't give you all this many handouts. I'll let you pass those down. And I'll give you 3. Next one is an invitation on behalf of the Greater Warren County Economic Development Council, its contributors and partners. And basically what they are wanting to do is to invite the board to I'm not sure what you call it, invitation, our next general contributors meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd, beginning at 5 o'clock at Brewski's Restaurant. As a special guest, Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer will be present to provide a legislative update and answer questions following the meeting. All board members are invited to attend. I think the only thing they ask is for you to respond by April 18th whether you're going to be there or not. So I want to share that with you. The next thing I have is another invitation. So you guys didn't know you were this popular. And this is from the Chamber of Commerce. They're also hosting a Young Professionals Business Mixer at Brewski's this Thursday, April 17th at 5 to 7. Anybody that's available and interested in attending that, you're certainly welcome to do so. And that pretty well filled up my things that I wanted to cover. So we're going to get on with the business of the city of Warrenton. The first thing I have on my agenda is I need to appoint, or would like to appoint, Jason Cullum to the Board of Adjustments as alternate C. Can I do that, both of them at once, or we need to separate those?
I think we can do them at once, can't we, Chris?
Yes, we can.
We do both? If there's no concerns with that, I'd like to do both of them. I'd like to appoint Jason Cullum to the Board of Adjustments as alternative C and Ron Dickey as alternative B. And I'd need a motion from the board to do that.
Make a motion to appoint Jason Cullum to the Board of Adjustments as alternate C and Ron Dickey as alternate B.
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Dreyer, to appoint Jason Cullum to the Board of Adjustments as alternate C and Ron Dickey as alternate B. I ask for a roll call on that.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. The other thing I wanted to comment briefly for the benefit of the new board members and the public, since I saw some information in the newspaper about the city in the process of purchasing another parcel of property. And I want to talk a little bit about that property real quick. This property became available, it's probably been a month ago. We received a phone call to see whether the city would have any interest in 20 acres of ground out on Willow Road, north of Warrenton, that happens to adjoin our present wastewater system. When I first heard about the property, my initial reaction was, I think we got more property now than we like to have sometime. We have property we like to sell. I'm not sure that we really are interested in that. But we came back and we talked to Terry and Mr. Gavers and kind of asked Guy to take a look at it and see whether he thought it would be beneficial to us. His response was, we need to have our engineers look at it and see what they think, whether it was beneficial to us. So the engineers came back and said it would be very, very beneficial for you all to own that piece of property. The situation with the property is that both of our trunk lines, one coming from the east side of Warrenton, one coming from the west side, all come across that piece of property. And we're getting ready to update our wastewater system, and it's going to be necessary to have more easements, bigger easements than what we have now in order to put a new trunk line on coming from both ends of town. So that was an important thing for us. But the most important thing was what we call our headworks to the wastewater treatment plant, where everything comes in to the headworks first. And it sorts out rocks and golf balls and marbles and things that we don't want in our system, and that has to be rebuilt. The issue with rebuilding it is we have to bypass that while it's being rebuilt. DNR is not very cooperative in letting us bypass that for a very long period of time. We would have to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with the contractors in order to get that done. I think that alone, I'm guessing here, I think it would save us about $25,000. Does that sound about right, Guy?
Yeah, because they were unsure on overtime and that.
Yeah, with just the overtime issues. So as we looked at that in more detail, we could actually build our new headworks over on the property that we're buying and hook up the new trunk lines and the old trunk lines, and then we could either rebuild the old headworks or tear it out or whatever we need to do. So anyway, the benefit to the city was about $78,900, I think is what the engineers thought, by us owning the property. So when you take the cost off the property, we thought we made a good buy, and it would be beneficial for future expansion of the wastewater, plus the issues that I just talked about. So I just wanted to let the public know about it. It's not a secret. We're closing on it, I believe, the 29th of this month. We entered into contracts. We put our earnest money down. They've signed off on the contracts. The only thing we did, we wound up with a house that we weren't necessarily in the house buying business, but I think the board's long-term intention is we will probably sell that house and a couple acres off and at some later date down the road. So, and that's all I have on the mayor's report. I'm ready to go to item 11 on the agenda, approval to close Thurman Street on May 4th from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Anybody here want to address that?
Sure, I'll address that.
I knew there'd be somebody. Would you come forward to the podium?
Said I was coming to this meeting anyways, I might as well do a little work while I'm here too.
Well, sure. Would you give us your name for the record?
Jason Emerson, Reverend Jason Emerson, Freedom's United Church of Christ.
Good.
So the closure,
Yeah.
So the closure is for, put up a tent, having a picnic after church. So we put up the tent over the street, utilizing the grass on both sides for some stakes. And previously, we've done this before. So contacted Dig Right, did all that jazz. So now we just need it closed, the one-way street in town.
Are all the aldermen invited to this?
Yes, May 4th.
They want us to come.
May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
And bring money.
Yes, please do. You can come to church as well at first service where Kathy Beatty's 4 grandchildren are baptized, as well as John and Debbie Graper's grandchild. So we'll have a quintuple baptism.
Oh, great.
That morning. So it's a good day of celebration.
So you're just close, Thurman Street's a one-way street, just that one block?
Yeah, from Main to Oak.
Only one-way street we have in the city.
You could, make that motion to close that, and I would appreciate that, or accept that. You could also go ahead and make a motion just to give that street to Friedens right now, and we wouldn't have to worry about the permit because it would just be our property. We own both sides of it.
Let's start off with a motion to close it. All right, see how that goes.
I'll make a motion to close Thurman Street on May 4th from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the Friedens UCC annual picnic.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Kessley, second, was that Alderman Clark? To approve to close Thurman Street on May 4th from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. for Friedens United Church of Christ annual picnic. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Sluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
Yeah.
Gabrielle, you got a report for us on the schedule for work session?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
We would like to schedule the work session to look at to work on the budget for the operating and capital for the fiscal year beginning July 1st. So we're hoping that June 10 would be a good date for everybody.
June 10.
Yep. Does that work for everyone?
Anybody have any conflicts with June 10?
I know I'm out of town.
I also believe I have a conflict that night.
And that's a very bad day for me.
What's June 10th on?
It's on a Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Second Tuesday.
Are there any other days that week that?
June the 11th.
I'm out the whole week.
He's out there.
You're
We're
gone
on
the whole week.
vacation.
Okay.
Do you want to look at the prior week, the week before that? There's a board meeting on that Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't think we want to do it in conjunction with the board meeting. That'd be a lot of time.
That Monday.
That would work for me.
That works for me.
Does that work? I'm hearing no. Where are you going?
My grandkids are coming in from
Oh, that's right.
Idaho
That's
that I
right.
haven't seen in a year or so,
And you're going to babysit.
and they're in those days. Yeah. Right, I'll bring a 3-year-old here.
On that day, I only have one that's a problem. Is that going to work for you? How about Alderman Dreyer? We did that on Monday before.
Yeah, that'd be the day I'm off.
Is that going to work for?
Second.
Those days I'm gone.
Is that what it is?
That's the second.
What about that, Gabrielle?
That works fine for us, right, Gary?
Okay. Let's shoot for that.
Okay, so what time can you all be here?
Well, how much time do we need? What do you think
Well, we're going over both the capital and the operating, and we have some new members, so it might take a little
couple hours?
longer to get through everything, so.
Okay.
I would say 2 to 3.
2 to 3 hours?
Can we start at 5?
What about, you all going to be back in town? And
If we start at 5, no sooner than 5.
it's not. 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 5 o'clock, we're scheduled.
You good with that?
What about item B?
Okay, the automated message service. When we do disconnections for non-payment, we do that once a month. And prior to that, we send out final notices, which is per the city code. We send that out. In addition to that, we make telephone calls, courtesy calls, the Monday and Tuesday prior to the shut-off day, just to give customers the reminder that, they need to make a payment. So what we did yesterday was use an automated service to leave messages on voicemail, or if there was a live person that picked up the phone. We did that during the day, and then when there was not an answer, then we left a message. We called again at 6:30 and left a message to try to get as many folks as we could so that we could reduce the number of shut-offs. So I just wanted to let you all know that we have put that in process.
And that appears to be working very well?
It seemed to work really well. There was a lot of folks that came in and made contact, so.
I know anybody that's worked for the city knows what a problem shut-offs and turn-ons back off, how much trouble that causes us, and the more we can do to prevent that, the better off we are.
So just wanted to make everyone aware, just in case you guys were getting telephone calls or anything.
Any board members have any more questions for Gabrielle? Thank you, Gabrielle.
All right, thank you.
I'm at item 13, Dottie Phillips, Recreation Director.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dottie.
I wanted to update you guys on the youth basketball program and some of the issues and concerns I have regarding the program. This was one of the programs that we wanted to run at the school district utilizing their gymnasiums. Once we had finalized the agreement to utilize the gymnasiums, a staff person from the school district came forward and wanted to utilize their basketball coaching staff to assist with the program. They wanted them to actually be the volunteer coaches. They felt that would be the best opportunity for the kids to get a really good experience and get some exposure to the coaching staff and be taught properly. So we did that, and it has not been a good experience for anyone involved. There has been a lot of inconsistencies throughout the entire, what should have originally been 6 weeks, but is now drawn out to be much longer than that. Originally did the schedules based upon the agreement that we had made, and those schedules were changed. They were changed multiple times. As late as last week on Friday, the kids were supposed to play on Saturday morning. As late as, I believe it was 2:30 on Friday, we were notified by someone who isn't even the decision maker regarding the program that they were canceling the boys' games for Saturday morning. So at 2:30 in the afternoon, when I got confirmation from the person who is in charge at the school for the program, began having my staff make 120 phone calls by 5 p.m. to let everyone know that the games were canceled. That's not the first time it's happened. It's happened multiple times throughout. There's been a lot of the coaching staff at the school gives information to the parents that is not consistent with the information that we're giving to the parents. The information we're giving to the parents is the information that we have agreed on with the person, or with the liaison to the school. So basically lots of misinformation getting out. I've made every attempt that I can to try to rectify it, and we are now at the last week of the season, and every day I probably have at least 3 to 5 phone calls, people complaining about the program. At this time, I do not feel that these people have received the experience that they should have received for the $45 that they paid. We have spent, I actually have a report that I put together that shows, including staff expenses for our seasonal staff, so not administrative expenses for myself or for our secretary. We have spent $4,551 and that does include some capital items that we purchased. And we have received revenue of $5,355 for the participants who registered. I believe that they have not gotten the experience that they paid for, and that we should consider giving them refunds. This has not, they just have not received what they were supposed to get. And I think the only way that we can make it right, and we can make people happy, and we can show them that we recognize that this program was a failure, is to give them their money back.
What do you think the true gist of the problem is? I mean, is the school system wanting to organize a more competitive type program for the young kids, and we're wanting to do a more recreational type program?
I don't believe that it has anything to do with the format of the program. I believe that it has simply just been miscommunication, lack of the information getting to the coaches. I think that the coaches did not know in advance that they were going to be, I mean, frankly, the information I got from them is that they were forced to do it. They were not told ahead of time. And so then what's happening is they're going, and the information they're giving to the parents, it comes across, you know, they're angry because they're being forced to do it. And basically, the phone calls I'm getting at this point is, what are you paying? Why did you take the money and you didn't spend any money? If the coaches are coaching and they're not getting paid and they're being forced to do this. So I have tried to explain to people and justify to them, here's what we've spent. You know, we bought this, our staff has been there, but they don't understand that. What they see is that there are coaches there who say it isn't their job to be there on Saturdays to coach youth basketball. I don't think it really has anything to do with the format of the program as far as competitive or recreational. I mean, I think that, you know, we're talking about 1st through 6th graders. Personally, I think that any league that we offer should be recreational unless we decide we want to go into the business of select, which before we do that, we need to do a better job at the recreational programs that we do. So I do not believe it's the format of the program.
I think you touched up on some things that are true about the program. In visiting with the superintendent, you know, one of the issues, of course, we had a horrible winter, and I forgot what, they missed 15 days of school or so, and that, I know that would put a flaw in the system. The young coaches, you're right, they didn't know that was part of their job. And I think they look at it as, wait a minute, you all are charging these kids to be in this program, and I'm forced to coach them, and I think that's a little issue with the school. But talking with the superintendent, he asked that we give it more time next year. He would hate to see us abandon it, but he said, you need to let us work out our kinks and see if we can improve upon it for next year. So.
Actually, I believe that this is a program that the community wants. I mean, we did have a lot of kids, who registered. But I think that the original agreement, which was that we are simply using their facilities, we are running our program the same way that we run every other program that we do, is the only way for us to go, because ultimately we're held accountable for the programs. So I'm in agreement that I think we need to reconsider how we can do it next year. But for this year, I think we need to consider this for basketball, for volleyball, based upon the experience we have with basketball and the fact that volleyball started out in the same way. I could not get information. I could not get facilities reserved. I have canceled that program and refunded all of the money before it ever got started, because I didn't want to have a situation that just continued to get worse.
The amount of money you're talking about is $5,550. That's what we would be refunding to the...
$5,355.
$355.
Dottie, I have a couple questions.
Yes, ma'am.
How was it broken up within first through sixth grade? Was that 2 different leagues or 3 different age groups? How did you have that divided up?
There were 2 different age groups. Originally, we planned on doing 3 different age groups, but we didn't have enough kids in the oldest age division. So we did first, second, and third together, and then fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Because a lot of the negative comments I heard had to do with that. There's a pretty big size difference at that age between a first third grader and a third grader, or a fourth grader and a sixth grader. So I think there was some real frustration from the parents and the kids because of the size difference on that one. And then the other question that I was asked was, did the goals ever get ordered so that they could lower the goals for the younger group?
The goals were ordered. We have the goals. I took the goals to the schools, and they chose not to use them. The coaches didn't feel that the kids needed them.
Because that's a pretty tall way to
Absolutely, it is.
shoot a basket when you're 6 years old.
Yes. Now, it is also my understanding, though, at some point, I believe one of the gyms, like on the girls' youngest divisions, they do have the automated goals that drop down, and they did use those for the first few weeks, I believe.
So the goals that you purchased, were those there the whole time? Or is that
They were
something that was
there
there
and-
partway through?
No, they were there for the very first game. They were there the week, of the same week that we started. The goals were there. And they didn't want them there, so Brad and his staff went back over and got them and brought them back, because I was afraid that if we left them there, they would, pieces would disappear, whatever, if the kids had access to wherever they were being stored. So we went back and got them once I realized they were not going to utilize them.
Who makes that decision with the school whether they're used or not? Is that the activities director?
Yes, sir.
Or the basketball coach, or how's that work?
The activities director is the person who told me. Now, who made the decision ultimately, I'm not sure, but that's where the information came from.
Dottie, how many players, kids are signed up?
There's roughly 120, but this number actually reflects some refunds. So I didn't figure out what this $5,355 is. They paid $45 each, but we have refunded some who asked for refunds after 2 or 3 weeks. So if they have come to us and asked for refunds, we went ahead and gave it to them. What you're seeing here, this is what's left of the people who have not asked for a refund yet. Now, those who asked for refunds that we gave them, they didn't play. They quit.
So they never played a game?
I think the majority have never played. There may be a couple of these in here that they may have played a couple of games and we prorated it.
Yeah. I mean, I really have a hard time with the taxpayer money. We spent $4,500 plus for equipment, and I mean, I have a hard time refunding everybody's money. I understand it's a frustration. I understand, there was circumstances weather-wise too to add to it. It was a new program. I get that, but I have a really hard time just carte blanche refunding everybody's money just because it didn't go as good as we had hoped it would. I mean, if we set that precedence, we could be doing that for a bunch of things down the road when people are crabby at baseball season or crabby at soccer season. And I mean, the fact of the matter is someone's always going to be crabby. I'm one of them. I mean, so I just have a really hard time saying, yeah, let's just refund their money, because the citizens, have paid the $4,500.
Well, something else that they have not, just so you have all of the information, they were supposed to have 1 practice per week and a game each week. The boys, I believe, practiced twice. They have not played all of their games because they've been canceled. I can't tell you how many games they have left because I've asked multiple times for the updated schedules because they redid them on their own, and I have never been given those schedules. So when preparing this, I couldn't tell you, maybe we could look at prorating because they did this much of the program that they expected. I have no idea because I can't get the information. So just so you know that some of what they were told they were going to get for this money, they did not get. but I can't give you a definite on what they did and what they didn't get.
And so we don't know if the season's continuing, if they're going to continue to play games to make up for it?
I sent a message today stating that I had been told by a parent who called to complain that last week the girls were told that they were not going to play this week. I have, according to the information I have, they're supposed to be playing this week. I sent a message today, and unless the phone call came in after I went out to the complex for training at 3 o'clock, I did not get an answer. We were also supposed to, when I canceled last week for the games that were supposed to be played this Saturday, I was not able to get a date that we would be rescheduling those. So to my knowledge right now, we have the boys and the girls both have a game left that they have not played. And as of right now, there is no date scheduled to play those.
My concern is if we don't do something with this, if this was my child in that program, I would not be very willing to participate next year. I mean, I would think I paid for something I didn't get or get a return on. That's just my personal opinion. So I'm asking the board what you all want to do with it. Pardon me? I don't take comments from the audience. So. I see it, I just don't take them.
Is there any way to track these kids so that next year when we get the bugs worked out, we wouldn't charge them the $4,500 to play next year? Can you do that?
The 45?
Yeah.
45, not 45.
No, sorry, yeah, 45. Yeah,
$45.
45. I mean, is there any way to
Right,
keep
can
track
we
of
give
that?
those kids a free voucher for next year?
For next year.
Right.
To get them to come back without giving refunds?
Some of them will age out of the program.
This kind of all ties back to when we were originally talking about this whole thing, you know, and I had the concern of who was going to run this. Being a part of an athletic association in the past, I realized this is not an easy thing to run. When you're running a gym and you're running teams, so I think maybe we've learned a pretty good lesson, and I'm not sure, I'm not really sure how we proceed, but or if it's something we even consider to do next year.
I think we need a table and talk about it some more, get more information on it.
What are you missing?
I kind of like to hear what the school has to say, I guess. I'm hearing one side, and it just doesn't seem to add up 100%. So we find out what's going on between the two sides is usually somewhere in the middle. But to know what's going on for sure, and then make a decision.
So your suggestion is maybe invite the activities director to our next meeting? And
Yes.
Why would the activities director be interested in showing up?
Secondly, who was your liaison that you were directed to speak to on issues
The athletic director.
directly to them?
Yes, sir.
I mean, the disappointing part of this thing is that it sounds like this was supposed to be a city-run program, but all the city that was sponsored, we didn't run it, the school ran it. And that's what it sounds like to me, and that's the disappointing part of it, because when we go into these things, we need to run a program. We can't allow another organization to run it for us.
I agree with you, and that was not the intent to begin with.
How did it get there, though?
How did it get there?
Yeah.
Because basically what I was told was that we wouldn't, the only way that we could have access to the schools was if the coaches were there to coach.
The agreement we had was a mutual facilities agreement. It did not direct coaching in there. That was not addressed. It was just a mutual agreement for facilities that you guys approved.
Yeah, that's what I don't remember
Yeah.
the written agreement for use of facilities, but not for operation of the program, so.
It was following their rules and whatnot regarding, you know, how the facilities would be, ingress, egress, work points would be. It didn't really lay out anything with regards to how the programs would be run, except for the city would be responsible for their program on their facilities. They would be responsible for their programs that will go into city facilities.
Well, I mean, if Mr. Clark thinks there could be some discrepancy in the information I've given, I'd be more than happy to invite the athletic director. I'm pretty sure you'll find that the information I've given you is accurate.
I think they ought to at least have a chance to give their side of the story, if nothing else.
Still doesn't solve our problem as to what we do as far as refunding or not refunding, I mean, at the end of the day, the parents aren't getting what they bought. I mean, so it doesn't matter whose side of the story, or if they're the same or if they're different. The fact of the matter is the parents didn't get their $45 worth.
I don't see giving, funding the whole thing, maybe half. I mean, I'm sure kids got to do something, at least, I would say half.
That's a possibility too.
That way they're not out everything, and the city's not out everything that we spend money on, kind of be
How do
halfway.
y'all feel about that? Do you live with half?
Were we able to return the goals that weren't used?
No, ma'am.
So we own those now?
We own the goals. It's actually, and the reason, well, I mean, let me rephrase. We could return them, but it's going to cost us as much to ship them back and for them to re-shove them, or whatever they call it. It would, basically, I can't remember, I think it was like $300 or $400 that we were going to get back, and we paid $1,600 for them.
I was just trying to recoup part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, this is a $10,000, if we refund the whole thing, it's a $10,000 debacle or unsuccessful program, because you laid out $4,500, and then you're going to refund almost the same, so you're putting out $10,000 for the failure of the program. Because I'm sure you can't recoup hardly anything of the $4,500 outlay.
Could those goals be used down the road for somewhere in our parks program, or?
Yeah, you have to have, basically they fit on goals, like on an existing basketball goal. That actually also, one of the schools that we were going to use them at, they had said that they did not have Brad, can you help me? Do you remember, was it they did or they did not have the breakaway? Do you recall?
Go ahead.
When we purchased the rings, we had to purchase them for breakaways or not breakaways. Do you remember? Well, anyway, when you purchase them, you either they have to be like a universal rim where they'll fit any rim, or they have to be for breakaway baskets. And I can't remember what we had to get from the schools. They had to fit like what the school baskets were. So basically the bars that are on them slip over the other baskets. So as long as the ones we have will fit on whatever other baskets we choose to use later on down the road, then yes.
Well, to get this offset, I'll make a motion, we'll see where we go from here. I make a motion, we refund the fees paid by the participants in the program at 100%.
100%?
Yep.
I would second it.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Holly to refund the basketball fees at 100% for this year's participants.
Let me explain my thinking on the motion. Is I feel like if we're going to go into recreation, even, we dream about a recreation complex, we dream about these things, I think we need to run it in the right way, and we need to give a good product. If the product's not what it should be, and we certainly can talk about whose fault it is. I think fault can lay in a number of places. I think we need to hold the standard up, and that standard is if we're not giving people what they want, then they have to get refunds. That's my thinking for making the motion.
Any other comments?
You have a question?
Go ahead.
Mr. Gravel, is that something we can put in the contingency for next year of operatings, as far as, you said we had a site type, or I can't remember what you called it.
The
We had a plan
facilities
for,
agreement, you're thinking more specifically how the program would
like,
be run?
that it's our functioning and that we are the ones that are operating.
It says that in the agreement. We just left kind of direction and details between the two liaisons, not, I think, anticipating there to be problems with running our program over there, but we definitely can sit down and, put a more direct, learning from this lesson, more specific provisions regarding how the program's going to be run, what they'll have control over, what we'll have control over, since it was an issue.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? We have a motion on the floor. Motion was by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Holly, to refund the basketball program at 100%. Roll call, please.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
No.
Motion carried 5-1. Alderman Dreyer, you want to comment on your no vote?
It's just what I was talking about. I think should have been half.
Okay. That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Dottie. I'm ready for item 14, Director of Operations and Finance Officer Terry Thorne.
My first item for you this evening is a discussion of scheduling interview dates for the master plans. We have talked at recent meetings for about the last month about the fact that we need to have a work session to discuss what direction we want our recreation program to go in. There have been many different topics brought up related to recreation. If you remember, in our budget for this master plan, half of the funds that are there come from the recreation component of the master plan. So I feel like that it is probably most prudent if we would have the work session to discuss the recreation program direction before we proceed with spending an extended amount of funds to get a recreation master plan. So wanted to see what your thoughts were on that, if you were interested in scheduling a work session to have that discussion before we actually schedule the interviews of the master plan participants.
I think we most definitely need to have that work session before we make a vote on this. So I'll make a motion that we postpone the schedule of interviews for the master plan till after we have a work session to discuss our recreational future plans.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Ock, that we postpone our schedule of interview date for the master plan until such time we have a work session to discuss the direction of recreation. Is that your motion?
Yep, said very well.
Any discussion on that item? Anybody else have anything else you want to add? Roll call vote.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Done.
Okay. And any thought on when you want to schedule that? Do you want to wait until we get past budget? How do you want to handle that?
What do we got stacked up on us? Is there some leeway there that we can wiggle it in?
The only work session that I believe we have scheduled is just for the budget. Is that correct, Melody?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the miscellaneous folder, there is a calendar for May, just that you guys can take a look at.
So do you think it's wiser to do it after the capital discussion or before? Because I mean, to me, the discussion, part of the discussion leads to decisions on the capital budget. So I think it should be before, because we've talked about, significant dollars in the budget for recreation. And if we're gonna really rechange focus on that, should we really sit down and discuss the direction before we even bring them in? So
I believe we need to do that, Alderman Ock, for a couple of reasons, not just for the capital component, but we may want to make significant changes in the operational component.
Right.
And so we need to have that direction before we get too far along with even the operational component of the budget, because we may decide to spend more or less money in that department, which then is funds that can be utilized for some other purpose. So I think the sooner we can do that, the more we're able to include those proposed changes in the budget for the upcoming year.
I wonder if in May, we could sit down and have a work session of the board and just, as a precursor discussion, where we can kind of, since we've got 2 new board members, talk about what the issues are, what the direction is, and just kind of get almost like a little retreat we did.
Sure.
You know, just have a rediscussion some evening in May. I think that would be very beneficial.
I'd recommend May 5th.
May 5th, huh? What is May 5th?
It's a Monday. The sooner the better, really, because
Yes.
we're starting to work on budget this week, so the clearer direction we have, the more important and better direction we'll have for the numbers that we provide to you in the budget.
How's May 5th stack up for everyone? Does that work? The grandkids will be gone by then?
They won't be there yet.
No, they won't be here, okay. I think we're going to look at
May
May
5th?
5th.
Would you like, there are several things that you all have talked about over the last couple of months that you wanted to have discussions once the new board members were seated. So why don't I put together a list of those topics, because recreation was just one of those. And then, Mayor, you can take a look at it, and maybe we can share it with the rest of the board and see what all we can fit into that one meeting. Is that okay with everybody?
Long as we don't get too many things on the table. And
Sure.
So, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
What time?
5?
What time on May 5th? What's that, is 5 going to work out for everybody?
Does that work, Terry?
Will it work? Will you be home?
We're here.
Here?
It's up to whenever you all can
It's 5 o'clock.
be here. Okay. That's all I have for you
That's
this
all you
evening.
have.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm ready for Mr. Busy Cruz for his grounds and maintenance report.
You have the grounds and maintenance report for March the 10th through April the 6th.
This is probably the only time we're ever going to say this in one of your monthly reports. No snow removal and no mowing.
No mowing, that's probably right.
I hope that's true. Any questions for Brad on his monthly report?
Last meeting, there was somebody here who wanted to decorate the city purple, and they were inquiring about decorating streetlights. Did that question ever get addressed?
Yes, May the 31st, they're going to bring the bow, it's bows is what they want to put on the lamp post. I talked with the lady, and the 31st, we're getting them and have them the week before the Relay for Life race. So that's all taken care of.
Awesome.
You know, I thought coming downtown tonight, the street looked great with the looming trees. I wonder if we could think about filling in some of the missing holes. I know last time we had some pushback from some of the business owners not having the tree in front, but you know, there are some big gaps that are pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, all the grates are, I mean,
They're there.
we have trees where they're supposed to be, so.
I think there's a couple where there's grates with no trees, at least one that I know of, but,
Wow, we took the one out in front of the theater.
okay.
That was taken out, and then there was one farther up the street we had to take out. And, but other than that, I think maybe the one up by Stewart's Drugs, they wanted that one out because it was interfering with their awning.
Do we have trouble with them on the south side of the street, or is that the ones that don't get enough sun or something, or?
No, the problem we had was the curb, all the salt water from the winter was coming down, was flooding those grates and going straight in, and it was killing, basically just had too much salt for the trees, so.
Yeah.
So once the curb was addressed, and that was all dug out and new curb put in, we haven't had any problems at all.
No problem.
Because I remember we first did that, we had some pushback from the previous owners on the south side of the street who didn't want them, but there's new ownership there now, so maybe it's revisiting a bit of
Yeah, we can do it. I think we still have a couple of the grates that we've taken out, still have those, so I'll look into that.
I said that because it looks like the trees on the north side are also much bigger.
They get a lot more sun.
More sun.
The north side, or the south side ones, they get shaded, and they grow about twice as fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there's no questions on the report, my next one would be the approval to hire Larry Barton as a seasonal part-time grounds and maintenance worker at $10.70 an hour.
How long have you had Larry?
Larry is starting his 8th year.
8th year.
He started the same time I did.
Make a motion to hire Larry Barton as a seasonal part-time grounds and maintenance worker at $10.70 an hour.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Dreyer, to hire Larry Barton as a seasonal part-time grounds and maintenance worker at $10.70 an hour. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Next, I would like to approval to hire Jennifer, hope I get this right, Chapius as a seasonal grounds and maintenance worker, a part-time seasonal worker at $10 an hour.
Is this Jennifer's first?
Yes, this is her
time.
first time with us.
Make a motion, we hire Janet Chapius as a seasonal grounds maintenance worker at $10 an hour.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Casterly, to approve to hire Jennifer Capius as a seasonal part-time grounds and maintenance worker at $10 an hour. Any discussion or concerns? Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Next would be approval of the Dyer Park basketball courts for the amount of $9,566.69.
That's where we can use those.
Is that replacing the one?
Yes, we're going to tear that. Actually, it's been overlaid twice. It was concrete and it's been overlaid twice. We're going to take it out and start over with new concrete and new basketball goals.
And this was part of our plan already.
It was budgeted for $10,000, yes.
Make a motion that we approve the improvements to the Dyer Park basketball courts for a projected total of $9,566.69.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly. Is that Alderman Dreyer? Second by Alderman Dreyer to approve for the Dyer Park basketball court renovation in the amount of $9,566.69. Any discussions? Roll call.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Thank you, Brad. Unless you have something else?
Nope, that's all I have for you tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm ready to go to Planning and Zoning Officer, Building Commissioner Jack Ham.
First thing I have for you is my monthly report, if you have any questions.
Things picked up in March, didn't they?
For some things, yes, ma'am.
I'm still looking for new home construction.
Me too.
It's not on here. You're looking for the same deal?
I have a good feeling.
You do? I think it's going to happen this year, too. I hope you're right.
I noticed on the report there's one demo in March. Is that the home on Juniper and Second, or is that something else?
That's something else, because
That was something else. We're
What's the
working through the
status of that?
process of the demo on the house on 621 Johannesburg. I just heard from them this week. They've got some information back from their insurance company, plus we've took legal steps from the city side of it in case they do not carry through on getting it demoed. And I've talked to several of the residents in that area and kept them informed that we are working through the legal process to stay on top of it.
Okay. Any other questions for Jack on his monthly report?
I like your report, Jack.
Thank you.
We're good, Jack.
Next item I have is a special event permit application, SEP number 6, for a proposed motocross practice session and safety training to be held at the Warren County Fairgrounds on April 26, 2014, on 3 3/19/14, Paul Owenby, care of Warren County Fair Board, submitted a special event permit application for a motocross and practice session and safety training event to be held out at the fairgrounds. This motion passed for approval 8-0 with one abstention and one absent at the April 3rd, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission's meeting.
And we need,
We need a motion to approve this, or?
is that what you're looking for?
That's what you've done in the past on all the special event permits.
I like the safety training issue because I have a concern of the safety issue on doing that. I mean, I haven't been out there lately to look at that track and see what it's like, but I think if we are leaning that way to approve those things, they need to have some safety issues addressed and make sure their staff's trained and make sure their riders are trained on that type of course.
Paul and Chris Petros is here if you have any specific questions for them from the Fair Board.
You got questions?
I don't, because
Okay.
my theory with this is that we have empowered the Planning and Zoning Board, and based on their notes and reading the minutes, that I feel like us being overly aggressive on questions that have already been asked by this other board is really a waste of time and disrespectful to the Planning and Zoning Board.
I disagree with you, but have you been out there and looked at the track? My concern is the safety of our residents. And I applaud them for taking some steps to try to address those issues. But if someone gets hurt out there, I think we've got an issue that, without us taking all the safety steps, we have an issue that we have to be responsible for.
I mean, but there's pretty good notes here on
I
the
read their
rubber
notes.
paperwork.
Well, I guess the question is, do we, and maybe this is for the lawyer, do we have an assumed responsibility by issuing permits for situations that are unsafe, or potentially could be unsafe on the Fair Board for these events?
No. Their liability insurance would be what covers this. And I think the mayor is right in the sense that the board's duty is to protect the general safety and welfare of the citizens. However, there is no liability for the city in that situation.
So there's no basis for reasonableness on our part. So if a reasonable person would approve the permit, then you don't have to assume liability.
Alderman Ock, I don't even think it would be unreasonable. If it was unreasonable, if it was arbitrary, it still would not assume liability on, because you guys do not protect the people going on that property specifically. You protect the general safety and welfare of the public. So it's your view is, more of a general, but there's not a direct relationship that would trigger any liability, even if it wasn't reasonable.
I mean, although I don't agree with Alderman Casserly about our rights to challenge the zoning board, because I think we have every right to challenge the zoning board, but I agree with her in this case that I think there was sufficient conversation and notes that I personally don't feel like there's a safety issue that's readily apparent, so I'd have no problem supporting the.
And I didn't say we didn't have the right to question them, but we have detailed notes and discussion points that we can read the logical discussions that the P and Z board already had. That was my point.
Yeah, but we don't have to agree with that.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. So in this case, I'd make a motion we would issue the event permit for the motocross practice, safety, and training.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Casserly, and the date of that was April 26th, is that right,
Yes.
Jack? To approve the motocross practice session safety training. Any other questions or concerns? Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 16C, circus.
Next item I have is a special event permit application, SEP number 7. Warren County Fair Board's Fantasia Circus to be held at the Warren County Fairgrounds on April 22nd, 2014. This motion for approval passed 8-0 with one abstention and one absent at the April 3rd, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Watch, someone will get bid at this one.
Possible.
Now, I was wondering if it wasn't noted in the minutes that the zoning board talked about having Alderman Casserly's dog show up as the honorary city
I
representative.
asked, I asked if I could, you want a picture? Okay. This actually sounds like a real fun family event, personally. I think this sounds like a lot of fun.
I attended the planning and zoning meeting, so I didn't have to go back and read your notes, but in fact, maybe Paul, I'm not sure who your representative was at the planning and zoning meeting.
Lori Smith.
Pardon me?
Lori Smith, the treasurer for the
Okay.
railroad.
And I don't think there's any issue with this either. They didn't seem to have any concerns. So, if there's no concerns from the board, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Fantasia Circus for, what's the date? April 22nd.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casserly, seconded by Alderman Clark to approve the Fantasia Circus for April 22nd. Roll call, please.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Can we bring our pets?
They never said that you couldn't, but I mean, they're supplying their own, just like I said, small entertainment deal. And, Mr. Mayor, what was one of the concerns you had with the safety of the public at the motocross track? I mean, just so if there's something we need to change that.
The last time I was out there, the fencing around the motor track that separated the motor track from the public was some cyclone fencing. It didn't look to me like it was high enough or stable enough. If a motorcycle went into it, I could foresee that fence collapsing.
Well, I don't know, it's been a year that there's been a front chain link fence put up there, and then we put and removed the side fences for mowing purposes, throughout the summer, but like for this event, those fences will be put back up, along the sides, cattle panels.
And the public doesn't have access on the side?
No, not on the ends of the track they won't. And on this event, they won't anyway, because it's not open to the public, it's just, for riders and.
For training, yeah.
Right.
I agree. I agree on that.
But if there's something, we need a different fence in front of it, taller. There are straw bales in place between the track and the fence also in placed areas, so, a 40-foot buffer between the track and actually the first bleachers.
Well, the motocross events that I've been to, these guys are 30 feet in the air sometimes, and that's my concern, that if you don't have protection for the public there, we could run into a problem.
Oh,
But I think you're doing the right thing, having a practice round to kind of feel out what problems you might have.
Right.
So.
Well, that and to get familiar with the permit process was a lot of it for me.
Sure. Okay. Where are we at, Jack? Haunted house.
Is site plan approval for Extreme Terror Haunts, SP 83, to be located at 1029 Armory Road. On February 26, 2014, a request was filed for site plan approval for a proposed seasonal haunted house. This property is Zone C3 Highway Commercial. The motion for approval passed 9-0 with one absent at the April 3rd, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission's meeting, with the conditions that the concerns of the fire department are addressed. And Fire Chief Owenby came to that meeting with some information that he was just wanting to make sure that the applicant was aware of some rules requiring this type of entertainment facilities, to make sure they didn't have no surprises further down the road. So they was aware of his concerns up front.
Who's going to enforce it?
They would have to turn in and get a building permit, and they would also have to get a permit for the fire department. So it would be both sets of eyes looking at that.
Who's going to monitor it while it's in session?
That would be the fire department, I would believe.
And Alderman Ock, the fire, when Chief Owenby handed the representative for this event the letter, it requires them to have automatic sprinklers. And so the representative said, well, we have to find a different facility. I'm still going to follow through with this. And they were considering whether or not they would appeal that decision, to try to find some alternative to the sprinklers. So I don't, and he's not here tonight, but I don't want to speak on his behalf, but it didn't sound like he was very enthusiastic that that facility would still work without the automatic sprinklers.
So then why would we approve the site plan unless we know he's going to move forward?
I believe his goal is to still try to move forward and look for options and explore all avenues on if there's alternatives to the sprinkler system for that
And
building.
I don't know, he was, Chief Owenby gave him the letter that night, that evening. He made the comment, and I was briefly had a conversation with him. And then, have you heard from him, Jack?
Yeah, I spoke to him again this morning.
And he said he still wanted to proceed, but he wasn't going to be here?
He said he could not make it tonight.
Oh.
He was thinking it was Thursday, like P&Z.
So I don't know what their intentions are. The P&Z did put the condition that they have to meet the requirements of the fire department, and get approval from the fire department, which is also part of our code, but
Does he already own this building?
no. It's a...
I believe it's a lease agreement
it's like a
that
short-term lease.
they're working towards.
Did the issue of noise come up in the meeting? I didn't see it on the notes. I mean, every haunted house I've ever been by, it's loud, and there's residents behind it. Did that come up in the meeting, or anybody from the residential side? Was there?
They did not address the noise, Alderman Ock. That was not something that P&Z just discussed at all or had a concern about. But it doesn't mean that you guys can't discuss it, or the site plan does allow for conditions for P&Z or the board to put on it.
I also was at that meeting, and I thought the chief was pretty straightforward and strict with them on what he expected and the demands they would have to meet. I would be surprised if they want to put that much money in that building to meet all the fire department demands. But that's their decision. So as a board, what do you want to move on this, or you want to wait and see whether the people that are wanting to put this business in are going to move forward with it? What do you think, Jack? If we don't approve it, are they going to stop on this?
I couldn't speak for them, but what they're asking for tonight is approval of the site plan, basically the bird's eye view of the overall concept. We have not received any building plans or any information for exactly what's going inside. They might be able to alter their interior to meet some of the requirements of the fire department.
So
I know they are looking at other locations. I think they have from the beginning. This might just be the first one that they got where they feel they can get it under lease and have the best view right there from the highway.
Other locations in Warrenton or other locations elsewhere?
I believe in this area, maybe not specifically within the city limits.
The other thing I didn't understand is it says in the meeting, Public Works Director and the applicant are requesting that the landscaping requirement be reduced or waived or reduced to the fact that the proposed area of the site will consist of an existing building, existing asphalt pavement, and proposed parking areas.
Okay, it shouldn't say Public Works Director, if that's what the minutes say.
Yeah, that's what it says.
That was a typo.
I mean, I'm just kind of...
The applicant requests that because the area of their site is going to be existing pavement, gravel, and the building, is why they was asking if they would waive the landscaping requirements.
I assume the zoning board specifically agreed to that because they passed it?
They approved it as submitted.
Because if I recall, I had some of the light standards, they were kind of falling down.
Parking lots in disrepair.
Parking lots in tremendous disarray.
A nice build-up for a haunted house.
Well, that's true, that is a good point. The lights don't work, that's a great thing. I don't know, I just was curious about the waiving of any requirements on landscaping or how the structure looks.
Well, from the dimensions of the building, per code, it would require 41 shrubs. And until we know what is the interior the gross floor area of the interior is going to be after they have it put in. We cannot determine the exact requirement of trees. If you use just the total area, it would be, I believe, 31 trees.
Well, that's helpful, because I didn't know we were waiving. So now you're telling me that we're waiving if we do that.
You know, we're talking about a site plan, but we still have to approve a conditional use.
A conditional use is not required.
Because it's a permitted use.
For Appendix A, entertainment event major indoor entertainment facility is a permitted use within the C3 zoning district. It does not require a conditional use approval.
And one thing, Alderman Ock, as you're talking about this, is kind of the permanency of this. One of the things that you guys have the ability to do if you want, that I didn't think about when we were in front of planning and zoning, is you could make the site plan only good for a year or for a period of time, so it would cover that period. So, you know, if they came back a second time, you know, you could maybe address some of the more permanency issues, which you could do. You could say this site plan will, you know, it's good for what, a year, Jack, they have?
They have a year to complete it.
Yeah, so after completion, you can make it valid for a period of time or valid through whatever season you wanted it to be.
Well, here's where I'm at on this, and I don't know where the rest of the board is. I would feel comfortable voting on this only if the police chief came up here, or the fire chief came up here and explained to the board how that was going to be monitoring, because when you, kind of goes back to the mayor's issue on the motor vehicle cross, you know, how are we going to make sure our residents using the facility are safe? And what is the role of the fire department? So that's one of it. The second issue I have is probably a broader, more theoretical issue. Is that really what we want to have sitting as part of the gateway to entering to Warrenton, is this haunted house? And I realize the facility now looks less than desirable, the lot looks less than desirable, but is that what the gateway to Warrenton should be like? That's more of a different issue. I mean, those are my, I'll be quiet now.
Well, I enjoy you talking on this one. I think the
And
life
Chief
safety
Owenby has
issue-
another meeting tonight. I spoke with him today, too. That's why he's not here.
Yeah.
I think the life safety issue when you come to an operation like this scares me from the fire hazard standpoint. So how do we verify, you know, that things are under control? I mean, how do we-
Maybe we could table it until the next meeting and see if the fire chief would come and give us some comfort. I mean, is that one way to go? I said I wasn't going to talk.
You can table it and talk to the applicant and the fire chief and see if they can get together and, you know, if it's a site they're going to pursue, to maybe present what, you know, is the results of their discussion regarding the fire safety issue and pedestrian ingress egress issues associated with, you know, the site plan. And then you could make those conditions related to it as well.
Is it possible to get the owners of this company to be at our next meeting?
I can sure make contact with them, yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean.
I can't guarantee whether or not they will be here, but I can contact them.
I mean, I think that would be great to have him here, or whoever it is, to be face-to-face with the board so they can answer our questions and concerns.
And you may want to say the next meeting or the following, in case those two can get together and address the
Sure.
fire safety and monitoring issues, and then
Okay.
maybe come and jointly present it. So maybe
Okay.
have Jack put it on the agenda when they want to come and talk to you guys about it. That's a possibility.
In agreement to table it?
Yeah, I make a motion that we table the extreme terror haunted site plan until a future meeting, when we're able to get additional information and have the applicants appear before the council. I'll second that.
Motion by Alderman Ott, seconded by Alderman Schluter, to table the extreme terror haunts to a later meeting when we can get together with the fire chief and the owners and discuss in more detail. Roll call, please.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item E,
Next, I'd like the approval to hire David Turner as a building inspector for the building department at a rate of $17.75 per hour with the requirement of 2 certifications within the first year of employment.
17, did you say?
$17.75.
Is it reasonable that he would be able to get those certifications within a year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What's the rationale on the 1775?
Randy had checked with other cities similar to our size, and that's seemed to be an average rate of around $18 was the starting rate for building inspectors.
I think 1673 or something for a police officer? See where I'm going?
We don't have the job description with this, with a range scale, do we? No.
No, in the starting, remember that officers get an increase after they finish FTO.
Officers do?
Yes.
Yes, to 1720.
Any other questions or concerns? We entertain a motion.
Well, how much are you asking for per hour?
1775.
Make a motion to approve the hiring of David Turner as building inspector at the starting wages of $17.75 per hour.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Clark, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to approve the hire of David Turner as a building inspector at the rate of $17.75 an hour. Any other discussion or concerns? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Kessley?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Sluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Gavers, Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First thing you have in front of you is the monthly report. And if you have any questions.
We don't have many questions because we don't understand all this.
If you want to have a special session, we can go through it and we can explain it then.
May the 5th. See you then.
I'm more than happy to explain it to you.
I know you will.
Then the next item I have is approval to hire Samantha Dreyer as administrative assistant at $12 an hour.
I make a motion that we hire Samantha Dreyer for $12 an hour as administrative assistant for the Public Works and Ground and Maintenance Departments.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Kessley, seconded by Alderman Holly to approve the hire of Samantha Dreyer as an administrative assistant in the amount of $12 per hour. Any concerns or issues? Roll call, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Abstain.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Kessley?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0 with 1 abstention.
Next item I have is the approval to hire James Bruce as equipment operator for $15 an hour.
You know, it looks like we're hiring a lot of people, but what the public needs to know, we've been operating without a lot of people, that we've lost a lot of people.
That's correct.
They've moved to different jobs, and we're just replacing the ones that left us. Entertain a motion to hire James Bruce from the board.
Make a motion to hire James Bruce as equipment operator at $15 an hour.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Dreyer, seconded by Alderman Clark to approve to hire James Bruce as an equipment operator at $15 an hour. Roll call, please.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Kessley?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
I think what this exercise is, kind of shows, at least in my mind, that we need to sit down and do that wage study and review, because we hired a heavy equipment operator at less money. We've hired an inspector who probably doesn't have the same risk, more in the police department, the starting person. So it seems a little all over the board, so I think we need to move forward with our discussion about looking at wages and salaries.
That's part of the plan with the budget process.
Guy?
The next item is...
One more item for you.
Discussion of the ordinance of the water and wells. This came up, we have a ordinance that if you're within a certain distance of a city sewer that you have to tie in, and this is kind of following that order. If we have a water line that's close that you can tie onto versus somebody drilling a well and putting a well in within the city limits, we want to use city water, not somebody to drill a well.
So by statute, we're allowed to impose city ordinance on somebody within 100 feet of city limits?
Yes. No, it's within 100 feet of, it has to be within the city limits. We can only control within 100 feet of their property line, within the city limits. It would only have jurisdiction within the corporate limits of the city of Warrenton, not outside.
And people that have
Does that make sense?
have an existing well,
It does not affect them.
doesn't affect them, they would be grandfathered in.
Essentially, what would happen is, if the requirements, you're required to tap into city water, if the property is situated within the city, is abutting any street, alley, or right-of-way, in which there is now located or may in the future be located, access to a public water system within 100 feet of the property line. The idea being, if there's someone that we're going to take water to, then we're going to, and they come in and they say, we want city water, we have to make the decision whether or not we're going to incur the expense to get out there and take water to. If not, we can say to them, you can go ahead and drill your own well and have your own private well. And the question kind of arose because we have a very clear ordinance regarding sewer, but not very clear regarding water. It's like a co-usage that indicates that you really can only have city water, but it talks about this co-mingling of well water with city water. So we wanted to clarify the ordinance so it was consistent with the sewer ordinance. It's kind of a little bit of a housekeeping issue, and there was a question raised about it that came in and said, can we do this? And we said, well, you can't, but let's make sure that the ordinance is consistent. And it was not a question where they were upset. It was just a question of, does the ordinance prohibit it? So that's really what we wanted to do, is clarify, really because they just needed clarification, yes or no. And and part of the reason is the contamination, our groundwater supply, protecting it for our wells, somebody else not drilling in there for whatever reason. And it's like anything else, there can always be a special circumstance if it's consistent with our water supply plan. And that's ultimately what we need to protect, based on some of the recent issues we've had.
That answer your question?
Yeah.
Any questions on there? Okay, so that's in ordinance form later on, so we will address that on a vote at that time. Okay.
That's all I have.
That's all you have? Thank you, Guy. We're going to go on to Chief Hottishell.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First thing I have this evening is the monthly report from March. Not really a lot remarkable there. I think our numbers are down as compared to last year as a result of low manpower, and we're going to hopefully be taking care of a portion of that this evening. The 3 participants that we had in the ride-along program were actually candidates for the police officer positions. So still like to see people coming out to ride, but that's not happening a lot.
Did you notify the new board members that's a requirement?
I actually did. Oh, I didn't tell them it was a requirement, but I suggested strongly that they should maybe.
It is a good suggestion.
I imagine Eric has never really experienced it.
No, he has no idea.
Get off work and go do it right along.
Any questions on the monthly report?
Okay, item number 2. Might as well stick with the theme. Need approval to hire Dana Hammerberg at $11.50 per hour as a part-time records clerk. Dana has a significant business background and really is just looking for a part-time job to supplement her other income, and she also wanted to be available for her children. So with your approval.
I'll make a motion that we hire Dana Hamburg at $11.50 an hour as a part-time records clerk for the police department.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to hire Dana Hammerberg as a part-time records clerk at $11.50 an hour. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. The next person is Carrie Jones as a police officer. Carrie has a very good resume, has done a little bit of time as a water patrol officer at a private lake, has also been working with the Mayor's Star for a while, and comes to us highly regarded from his background. So with your approval, Carrie Jones at $16.73 per hour as a police officer.
Make a motion to hire Carrie Jones at $16.73 an hour as a police officer.
Let's try.
I know, I tried.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Clark to approve the hire of Carrie Jones as a police officer at $16.73 an hour. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And Ben Hauser, also a police officer candidate, he comes to us with 16 days of experience at the Pine Lawn Police Department, and was smart enough and intelligent enough to see the bad things that were going on there, and he got out. So with your approval, Benjamin Hauser at $16.73 per hour.
Make a motion that we hire Benjamin Hauser as a police officer at $16.73 an hour.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to approve to hire Benjamin Hauser as a police officer at $16.73 an hour. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And the last thing that I have on the agenda is an approval to sell some items. These are all vehicles that have been either in my fleet, or that dump truck is the oldest vehicle, I believe, that was in Guy's fleet. Oh, here. But all of them were money pits and just needed to be cycled out of the fleet. So with your approval, we will put those up for sale.
How do you put those up for sale? Do you just post them on?
I believe they go on GovDeals.
Yes. On what now?
GovDeals.
Government
online.
bids, okay. And we'd keep them here, and people would come and look at them here, or how
Yes.
we wanted to do it? Okay. We have a motion to approve the sell list of equipment.
I've done the last three, come on.
I'm trying to decide if I want to buy one. My Toyota has 259,000 miles on it. These look like they're deals.
Just broke it.
One just needs a battery. One just needs a battery.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Who made it?
Gary did.
Gary? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Casterly to approve to sell list of equipment. Roll call, please. There's no discussion.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
I have two announcements, if I may.
Yes.
As you know, and thank you again for your support of Special Olympics, but that charity is very near and dear to me. So the police department is involved in two events coming up. The first one on April 25th, that's a Friday night, a week from this Friday. We will be partnering with Applebee's and doing a Tip-A-Cop event. So we would like to see everybody out there. That would be super. Applebee's is supporting us not only by supplying the venue and a lot of help, but they're also going to give us a percentage of the sales for the evening. So we're very excited about that, and Special Olympics is pretty excited about that too. Also, the torch run date has been set, and that will be May 28th. That's Wednesday in the last week of May. So, appreciate everyone's support. And that's all I have.
You know what would really be helpful if you would just shoot us a message on our iPads of those dates so we can kind of mark them on our calendar.
I will do that.
And kind of remind us.
Sure.
We kind of work our schedule around those things. So.
I'll
Any
do it.
other questions for the chief? Everybody's good? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I'm ready to move into ordinances. First ordinance is bill number 25-14.
We tabled that for now, didn't we?
Yes,
We did?
it's
Yeah, we
tabled.
tabled, so we go
Oh,
to bills.
we're not, that's right, we did table.
Call for the first reading of bill number 26-14.
Second?
Motion by Alderman Clark, seconded by Alderman Ock for first reading of bill number 26-14.
An ordinance amending Chapter 705 of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri by the addition of a new subsection related to use of city water.
Call for a second and final reading and passage of bill number 2614.
I wanted to do that in honor of
You
Fred.
missed it, but you can second it.
I'll second it.
Motion by Alderman Dreyer, seconded by Alderman Kessley for second and final reading and passage of bill number 26-14.
An ordinance amending Chapter 705 of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri by the addition of a new subsection related to use of city water.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Schluter?
Yes.
Alderman Holly?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
I'm out of items. This time, if no one has anything, sorry to bring it up. Sure?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Alderman Kessley, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dreyer, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.